Hey guys, like, comment, subscribe. Just doing another quick video on the George Springer signing. Already looked at the contract itself, what it likely means for the Jays outfield moving forward. So if you haven't, take a look at that video. This time, as mentioned, going to be looking at kind of what this means for the Jays overall, what it means for their pitching, what it means for the team in terms of potential more signings. So I mean, do you think the Jays are done adding guys aside from maybe Brantley? Do you think maybe a pitcher's coming in? What do you think's next for them?
It's tough. If Springer would have gotten a slightly smaller contract, I would have may have considered someone like Trevor Bauer. But Bauer and Springer together, they're just going to cost the Blue Jays a little bit too much money this year. If I'm the Jays, I'm probably more looking at those second-rate starting pitchers. Let's be honest, Ryu is our ace. He was 12th in MVP voting last year in the AL. He can be an ace on the team. We don't really absolutely need that new ace. Like Bauer would have been sick. It would have been a great pickup. It would have made Ryu and Bauer one of the best 1-2s in the league. And we're not going to get that by bringing in someone worse than Ryu. But with that being said, we don't absolutely need someone at Bauer's level to compete this year. Especially if we do bring in Brantley, our money's going to be getting a little more limited. I can still see them offering like a 1-year contract to Tanaka if he wants to stay in North America, because I don't see the Yankees bringing him back. And there's a lot of other pitchers out there as well. I can see them being tied to someone like Happ, maybe Cole Hamels, but I definitely prefer Happ in that situation. There's a lot of, say, third best starting pitchers available that they can pick up. But also, if you're bringing in Brantley and you already brought in Springer, you're going to have at least 1 or 2 extra outfield pieces on top of a great prospect pool that we have to be able to trade for a second or third starting pitcher. They don't need to get an ace. To be able to compete this year, they just need to have an overall deeper starting pitching staff. And by bringing in at least 1 or 2 more kind of middle of the line guys, it could be all they need right now until people like Simeon Wood Richardson and Nate Pearson take the next step.
Yeah,
So
I
what do you
don't
think?
really yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's necessarily just about money because I feel like even if like let's say they do bring in 1 to 2 guys, I feel like that combined salary plus Brantley will be what Bauer would have been anyways. So I feel like money wise it wasn't a thing. I feel like overall it is a combination of they don't want to mix Trevor Bauer with 2 Astros. And yes, I do agree they don't want 2 super long-term deals. I think they're more likely to probably bring in a couple guys on 1 to maximum 3 years deals. Personally, I would love if they bring a guy back like Taijuan Walker on like 2 year 30 mil. Like that might some people might say it's an overpay, but even then, throughout his career, he's definitely a sub 4 ERA guy, if I'm not mistaken, or just about. Like no, at very worst, you're getting a number 3 with Taijuan Walker, which is what they need, and he also has the potential to be a number 2 from what we've seen. There is rumblings of him still potentially go to the Yankees. Doesn't seem like he wants to come back to the Blue Jays, but if he did, it'd be fantastic. But yeah, I agree. If I'm them, I'd probably move an outfielder for pitching. And if I can, honestly, I'd probably move some of those prospects for even more pitching. Not, again, like you said, not an ace, but if they could, let's say, add a 2 or a potential, let's say they add a guy like Jay Happ and he's 3, then that's fine. And then you trade for a 2. I'd say that overall rounds out the staff pretty good. And then from that point, you just really need to figure out what you want to do with the infield. Do we want Austin Martin to play this year? Do we want to play third base? Do we want to play first base just because he is so versatile? Is Vlad going to play first? I don't think they need to bring anyone in to fill that void in the infield. Again, I think it'll be Martin somehow. But I mean, what do you think in that regard as well?
I don't think they bring anyone into the infield. I think they wanted to whenever Lindor was available, and that would have been a good move because it would have been fairly cheap when it came to giving up prospects for it. But by bringing anyone else in, there's there's very few free agents that are of the same quality of their current players right now, especially given the fact that all of our players are so young and likely to take a step next year. There's very few players that they can bring in off the free agent market that are actually going to be an improvement.
Well,
So
what
they'd
if
have
they
to
bring
make a
in Travis
trade.
Shaw at first base and then they don't play Martin, then they keep Vlad at third?
It's tough. The reason why they put Vlad at first base is because he can't field. They didn't trust him at third. And Travis Shaw actually came in and was able to take a good chunk of those minutes last year, to be honest. And Travis Shaw is a great player, and I would hope they bring him back because he's fairly reasonably affordable, but he doesn't really move the needle for us too much.
No,
So
but
whether we
he's a
bring him
very
back
good
or
first
not, it's
baseman.
yeah, he would help. But if you're bringing in someone like Brantley, for example, he's going to take up that half of the DH minutes to begin with. Where right now, last year, the only reason that it worked with Vlad and Shaw was that one of them played DH half the time.
Yeah,
And I just don't see that happening if they bring in Brantley. But it's sad to say because the Blue Jays tied themselves to a lot of big names this offseason. And it kind of feels like a lot of their own free agents got overshadowed and left behind because they were trying to see how much money it was going to cost them to bring in these big names before even trying to think of bringing back people like Walker and Shaw. To me, it
yeah.
probably left a sour taste in their mouth because I don't know about you, but I haven't heard of anything going with Shaw or Walker going to the Blue Jays this year, which is crazy because they were both successful last year playing for the Blue Jays.
No, likewise. And if I'm not mistaken, unless Robbie Ray did sign a deal that I completely missed to re-sign with the Jays, I believe he's a free
Robbie Ray
agent
did.
as well. He did,
Robbie Ray
yeah.
did.
So
Yeah.
at least in that regard, at least Ray's back and he would be your potential five. But yeah, like you said, there's been no talks of Walker or Shaw going back there, so it's hard to say. But you know what? Maybe even the discussion, I know it's far-fetched because he already played left field, and it is a big transition into the infield. But typically, when a guy could play like when he goes to DH, he could probably also play first. So maybe the discussions with Brantley are, hey, could you play first base? Like if
Maybe.
you can, at least some of the time, like we'll definitely
Our,
bring you in. So you never know there too.
Bautista was able to do it. A lot of these guys that play in the outfield are able to do it. So you never know, right? It's something that maybe that's conversations that are having right now. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they're talking to Brantley. Maybe Springer wants to play with them, but not necessarily in the outfield with them. We don't know. And I'm not sure if Brantley's the best move for them, but if it means making Springer happy, a guy you just paid so much money, it's if it's going to be a 2 or 3 year deal, you might as well just do it, and he will add value to our team either way. But yeah, I don't know if they do any other big moves when it comes to the infield. I'm hoping for at least one more middle of the line pitcher this offseason. But overall, it's kind of rounding into shape. They picked up a couple good relievers. They kind of solidified their positional players. As you mentioned, they have Martin coming up. They have a lot of good prospects coming up, which if let's say 2 months into the season, if we're making a run for it, and say we didn't pick up anyone else except for Springer and maybe Brantley, and we don't pick up maybe and only a third or fourth starting pitcher quality guy, but if we're making a run for it in 2 to 3 months from now, before the trade deadline, then we have the prospects, we have the extra positional players to be able to make a big trade and bring in that big star or that ace that we're talking about trying to get this offseason. Those people are available. Someone like Snell was traded for peanuts this year. Like there's always a team every single year that is on trending downwards that has a high end pitcher to offload. Think of David Price when he came to the Blue Jays a couple of years ago. So I can definitely see that happening midway through the year, but I just don't see a very huge name coming about right now. But if they can pull off something like Tanaka, I would be very, very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, a name like Tanaka would obviously be great for them. Just depends if he wants to play in Buffalo or
Yeah.
not. But I mean, it is close to New York, so definitely possible. Um, yeah, I would say the trade deadline could be a potential time for them too. And again, Woods Richardson, we haven't seen him play at the MLB level fully yet. So I mean, who knows? Maybe he's that two or three guy. We don't fully know yet until it happens. But definitely let us know what you guys think in the comments of what the Jays' next moves are. Give the video a like, hit the subscribe button, and we'll be back soon with some more content.